Pure sodium chloride is odorless. Sodium transmits that salty taste to our brain, but sodium chloride has no smell that we can detect. If you are smelling something from the salt you have, there are hundreds of aroma molecules all around us all the time. It could be from the box or container, or it's some other compound. It's not the sodium chloride. Secondly, sodium chloride is water soluble, but it's not fat soluble. Because it's water soluble, we can season our pasta water, which in turn seasons our pasta, but we can't season our frying oil, so we need to add salt to fried food either before or after it gets out. Third, sodium chloride's melting point is 801 degrees Celsius or over 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. And fourth, sodium chloride is not a fuel or energy source. Salt's melting point is actually closer to the melting point of silver and gold, but why does this matter for cooking? Well, if you add some sugar to a pan and heat it up, it will start to melt at just around 320 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 C, then begins to rapidly start caramelizing around 340 degrees Fahrenheit, where the color darkens and hundreds of new aromas are developing, all from adding some heat to the sugar. Caramelization is the same chemical reaction that can happen with the sugars found in fruits and vegetables, which can lead to lightly crispy or brown exteriors when we cook them. Carbohydrates in general are a fuel source that provide us with calories and can change drastically in taste, aroma, texture, sight, and physical appearance when heat is applied through cooking. Sodium chloride does not work this way at all. Throw some salt in a pan, heat it as high as you want for as long as you want, nothing is going to happen. Really, all we can do with sodium chloride is dissolve it into our food or dissolve it with the water in our mouth. And this brings me to the final three properties that are really important and explain how salt is able to move through our food. Fifth, sodium chloride is hygroscopic, meaning it draws moisture from its environment. So if we sprinkle salt on two sponges, one completely dry and the other sponge is wet, the salt will just stay on top of the dry sponge. But for the one that is wet, it will actually start to draw that moisture towards the salt. Once it draws enough moisture away, this is how salt dissolves, and then it goes through two more processes: diffusion and osmosis. Diffusion is the natural movement of particles from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. And building on that, osmosis is the diffusion of a solvent through a semi-permeable membrane. Most food is made up of water and semi-permeable membranes, such as protein fibers in our meat or the cell walls in our fruits and vegetables, allowing salt to move around via the water. So let's look at a quick real-life example to make all of this a little bit more concrete. When we add salt to a steak, it first draws free water to the surface, and once there is enough water, that sodium chloride will dissolve. Now, since there is a high concentration of dissolved sodium chloride on the exterior of the steak, it will begin to diffuse into the water that is inside the steak over time until it reaches equilibrium, leaving us with an evenly seasoned steak. And osmosis is how that dissolved salt can then move through any semi-permeable membranes the food may have. So, depending on the thickness of the steak and the size of the salt crystals you use, this typically takes 45 to 60 minutes. Now, from a flavor perspective, there are some direct and indirect effects that adding salt can have. An example of a direct effect is taste. So from a taste perspective, the sodium is what our brain identifies as salty taste. We have now changed how this steak will taste. An example of an indirect effect, though, is aroma. Remember, sodium chloride is odorless. The salt is not changing the aroma of steak, but since we have added it, it could impact compared to a steak that has not had salt added to it. Let me explain. In this case, the salt has completely dried out the exterior of the steak we have, which makes it easier for the Maillard reaction to occur. The Maillard reaction is a complex chemical process that occurs when amino acids and sugars react under heat, leading to the browning and development of flavors in various foods. The salt we have added here is not involved in this reaction at all. Remember, the melting point is over 1400 degrees Fahrenheit.